In Kinshasa, the final rains before the start of the dry season are merciless. Flash floods present added obstacles in the daily lives of the city's inhabitants, and getting from A to B is harder than ever. Public transport is largely inadequate, and the Kinshasa inhabitants who manage to move around aren't exactly traveling in style.
We have to fight for transport from morning to evening, and it's tough going. The comfortable seats have been replaced by wooden benches. That would be unimaginable anywhere else.
Rush hour brings a pathetic sight. An army of commuters trudging along the roadsides or even walking in the middle of potholed roads.
Getting around is impossible. The authorities should find a solution. We feel ill every day, and when we get home, we have to take painkillers.
It's hell. Just getting to the bus is difficult. Personally, I have to walk from here to Co-Hydro to catch the bus. That's 8 kilometers away.
For commuters living in the outskirts in places like Messina or Kingasani, the long walk to work starts in the small hours. The distances are enormous, at least 20 kilometers. And when the working day is over, it's another 20 kilometers back home.
I walk from the central market to Messina and get home at about 10 or 11 at night. All that because there is no transport whatsoever.
It's difficult getting here. I leave home at 5 in the morning and it's 10 before I get to the central market. How can I run my little business in these conditions? And what kind of profit can I make? How can I feed my children with all these problems? We have responsibilities too.
We rent the house we live in. I have to work each day to find the $40 rent. Only I can't work every day because of the transport problem.
Groups of people wait on the sidewalks for transport that probably won't come. There are 2,000 taxis and 2,500 taxi buses in the informal sector, as well as the 228 buses from the formal sector. However, it just isn't enough to transport the Congolese capital's 8 million inhabitants. The happy few who find a bus or taxi travel in conditions that are almost inhuman, and that after waiting as much as 3 hours.
I'd like to go and see my aunt in Kingasani on the other side of town. I live here in Kasavubu and I'm starting to lose hope of ever seeing a bus or taxi. It's 10 to 5 and I've been waiting since 1 o'clock.
I've been waiting an hour and I'm afraid I might have to wait another 2 or 3 hours. The roads are full of potholes and huge puddles of water. They're impassable. In these conditions, students like me have problems getting to the university campus. If nothing comes, I'll walk. What else can I do?
Indeed, there are several reasons for these transport problems. Motorists say the prime culprit is the poor condition of the streets that makes some of the capital's roads unusable.
First, we must fill in the potholes and give the city of Kinshasa the roads it needs. Then certain areas need to be made more accessible. Kinshasa streets were built to cope with 5,000 vehicles. There are now around 60,000. In this case, we inevitably have traffic jams and poorly maintained vehicles. All this needs to be taken up with the authorities, and we should try to have roadworthy vehicles, just like other countries.
Kinshasa's highways and byways were built in the colonial period, and there have been no significant improvements for over 50 years. Charles Lututa, head of the Congolese Urban Transport Company since 2002, believes that the state should pay close attention to this thorny question, and one of the problems that urgently needs solving in the sector.
The traffic jams on the transport system result in loss of earnings, what we know as transport losses. As you can imagine, when we run a line, we plan the right number of vehicles to make the line profitable. But with the traffic jams, the buses end up stuck for 2 or 3 hours, and we can't even provide half of the services that were scheduled. The state must really establish regulations so the STUC can stay on the main and secondary roads. Whether it's the formal or informal sector, it must be regulated.
It is estimated that 2,000 buses would be needed to cope with the capital's transport requirements. The STUC provides just over 10%, 200 buses, and is the only state-run company offering competitive fares and services covering the longer journeys.
I've told the authorities that we have over 200 buses in Kinshasa, but we can't provide the complete service because the roads are so bad. We just can't reach highly populated areas such as Kimbasiki, Kinsuka, Pampage via Selambao, as far as the National Pedagogical University and the road to the university. These are densely populated and remote areas. Our mission is to provide better access for these people who are less privileged. They're our clients too.
The urban transport system was also losing money due to the large amount of fare dodgers who couldn't afford a ticket. To a certain extent, the Congolese state turned a blind eye as it was providing a service.
When you ride for free, I call that non-payment. But we've put up with that for over 20 years. We have practically paid for the state employees' expenses. Soldiers and police officers don't pay. Just imagine how many soldiers travel for free every day.
The state has to get involved in the question of fares. Maybe we wouldn't have direct aid, but the solution could be to have indirect subsidies, such as tax breaks, for example.
There have been transport problems in the country for over 20 years, without a lasting solution ever being considered. This is no doubt one of the most poorly organized sectors in the Democratic Republic of Congo.